I was getting ready to record this, and I forgot to delete the audio from my last episode. And I started thinking, who's this jerk? It was me. I was the jerk. Today, I'd like to talk about something that hits all of us on a regular basis, and it's control. Not like crazy person, you have to control your family and be abusive control. I don't feel like talking about that. That's too depressing. But you as an individual giving up control. I told you this was not going to get super theological, and I'm going to keep that promise because I basically do theology for a living. But giving up control is a really important thing that I'm still learning how to do. And honestly, I got to tell you, it's difficult for all of us, isn't it? Just giving up control. And what does that look like? If you've ever visited an AA meeting or an NA meeting, Alcoholics Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, you've said the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's a really big deal. At least it should be a big deal for every human who's trying to live in a way that is productive, is healthy, because there's a lot of stuff you can't control. And so you get mad at certain things or certain people because they do or say things that bother you. And it turns out you can only really control one person in your life. And even then it's kind of difficult because self-control is one of my least favorite types of control, but you can really only control yourself. You can only really have charge of what type of decisions you make. You can't control other people's decisions. You can't control events, any events. You can't really control anything if you think about it. You have no control over the weather. You have no control over the traffic. You have no control over whether or not you're going to be able to show up to certain things. I was just really frustrated this past weekend. We were going to go visit some friends, and it was looking like we weren't going to be able to make it because one of us was sick. And I said to my wife, why is it that every time we try to do something, somebody's sick, or we have something come up, or a vehicle breaks down, or we have a conflict, or I've double booked us or double booked myself. And in those cases, yeah, you can try to control your schedule. You can plan things, but even the best plans just get blown up on a regular basis. So we are going to go to some friends. Shout out to you, Vince and Cody, the Van Dyke family, and also Dana hung out for a bit. Anyway, and it was awesome. But it was looking for a while like maybe we couldn't go because Val wasn't feeling well. And I thought, I got this text ready to send to Cody. And I was just going to say, it's this whole winter has been such a drag. We get ready to go somewhere, or we make plans and someone gets sick. We try to set this up and it doesn't work, or the weather. This winter, we had an actual winter for a while, and what I mean is a severe winter where it was actually cold and really snowed and bad roads and the whole thing. And you set something up, and then I don't think we should go. The roads are bad, and it's not really the roads that you're concerned about, but the other people driving on the roads, specifically when they have not been trained. We already talked about that in a previous episode, and so I'm not going to rehash that. So we couldn't show up one time because of the roads to our friends, and this time it was looking like we couldn't show up because Val wasn't feeling well, and you just hit such a frustrating wall. And so here's something that's super funny. I told my people this morning, my church people, and it was just funny. So we decide we're going to make it. They say, we don't care. Val doesn't sound that sick. We'll be all right. Let's all get together. We've been trying to plan to get together for a while. So we head out there and we're making good time. We get down the interstate. It's just that time of Sunday night. I can't talk. I don't know anything. Anyway, we get off the interstate. We get off in Belgrade. Try to do the legal thing. A guy tries to get around me. I go faster than him and get in front of him. He's mad. He's having an attitude about it. He's all upset. I didn't notice how upset he was because I was trying to take my dad's advice. My dad always says, just don't look at him. Just don't even look at him. So I just don't look at him. I try not to. And then as he's turning off where he's going to go, I mean, obviously I was not impeding his way for that long. I mean, maybe a mile. As he's turning off, before he turns off, he starts flashing his brights at me and honking his horn. And I just think, what is your problem? Why? What is so, and this is what's so funny. If you think about most of the scrapes we have with other adults in the world, it really seems very toddler. If you break it down, this guy is, I'm mad because he's not letting me go first. And do we not learn? I think I've talked about this already on the show. Do we not learn to take turns in school? Is this really that hard of a concept to grasp? Anyway, he was mad because I went in front of him and he wanted to go in front of me illegally, I might add. And as he's turning off, he's flashing his brights, honking his horn, and flipping me off. And I go, well, what hand are you driving with, sir? Man, it would have been great if he would have gotten a wreck. There's my humanity coming out. And I was so upset at this guy. I turned to Val and I said, should I turn around and go talk to him? I want to go talk to him. I'm going to turn around. She goes, don't do that. And I didn't. But what I would have said to that guy, and I've done this type of thing before, so has my dad and so have both of my brothers. And I will not steal thunder from their stories because I hope to hear some of them from their own mouths on this podcast if they can ever show up, ever. Anyway, love you guys. So I don't turn around, but what I would have said is I would have turned around and gone and found him and said, sir, what is your problem? What's your issue? Why? Why are you so upset? I was trying to do the legal thing. You're doing the illegal thing. And you're mad at me for doing the legal thing. You are insane. Now, that wouldn't help. And if he would have a gun, he'd probably shoot me. So it's not worth it. But that's what got to me was this. I can control how I react to him. I can't control him. I can't control that he's a hothead flipping me off and honking his horn at me. But I can control how I react to him. And thankfully, he flipped me off and honked at me, and I just gave him, nice job, bro. Gave him the thumbs up in the rear view. Literal just thumbs up. You're so wonderful. Great job. And thanks to my dear wife, we kept going. But I can't control how that guy is going to be, as my dad would say. He don't know how to be. He didn't know how to be. I can't control how that guy is going to act. I just can't. So there's so many things that we can't control. My family, I will go on record saying this, and I know other people that have said the same thing, friends and acquaintances that I've talked to. There are many of us who were social distancing before it was cool. And what I mean by that is there are many of us who were not the people who were all sick and we just show up. Oh, our kid was just barfing last night, but we came anyway. Now, again, if Val would have been puke sick, we would not have gone to our friends because we don't want to pass that around. But we gave them the right of refusal. Okay, she's got a little bit of the sniffles. If you don't want us to come over, we totally get it. We won't be hurt. And they said, let's live on the edge. And we went. Okay, that's courtesy. Let them know when you're sick. Okay, let them know. Let people know. But I don't want to get too far over on that angry rant vein because here's the deal. Here's the deal. Okay, you can't control when you or other people are sick. I know. Isn't that crazy? You think, well, I'm going to drink emergency and I'm going to take enough supplements to kill a mule and I'm going to eat this and not eat that and I'll never get sick. And then what happens? You get sick, especially in my case, my daughter goes to preschool and my wife teaches preschool. There's not one illness that's gone through this valley that we have not contracted. It just happens. So I'll give you a story on that. We're at Fiesta Mexicana in Belgrade this winter. And for some reason, our daughter had been really throwy uppy. And we figured out why. I'll get to that later. But I could tell we're eating and she's not looking good. And I think, all right, we need to get her to the bathroom. And I could see her from an angle that Val couldn't. And she's looking like, I'm not feeling very good. I said, all right, let's go. And I grab her by the hand. I'm leading her to the bathroom. We get around the corner and she pukes. and I caught the puke in my left hand. Like, that really helps. I've got like an eighth of a cup of puke in my hand, but I caught enough that it didn't get all over the place and got her in first I kicked the door of the men's bathroom open and no one was in there. So I go, all right, we're going to go. And she's like, I don't want to go in here. I said, we have to go puke in the toilet. So I get her over the toilet and she's going, hold my hair back, hold my hair back. My little girl, just so funny. And we get it done, get it cleaned up. Everything is good. We're driving home, and we like to take the old highway home, and usually what happens, and Zoe really likes to watch the train. We'll get at a railroad crossing, and the train will go by, and we're sitting there watching the train go by, and I turned to my wife, and I said, you know, how many years have we thought, oh, so-and-so made us sick. They came here and they made us sick. Or you get sick and you immediately try to figure out who got you sick because it's their fault. And in this case, our daughter was just kind of pukey for a while. I don't know if it was a growing thing or she's been kind of an easy puker for as long as she's been alive, but it was especially bad. We got to the bottom of it and we figured out that she was drinking liquids too fast. And for some reason, acidic drinks really bother her stomach. And so we don't let her drink certain things. And she'll survive without soda, hopefully, or pap. You know, in Minnesota and Iowa and probably Michigan and where else they call it pap. And so did we. We just call it pop, but I don't like calling it that. I call it soda now because I just prefer that. I'll have a soda. I'll have a pap. Anyway, she can't drink too much of that. She can't drink too much one time. I'll tell you this. I was driving Zoe on a curvy road, Churchill Road to be exact, and I had fed her a giant piece of greasy pizza and got her a medium cherry Pepsi. And she guzzled that down, ate her whole piece of pizza, and threw up all over in the car. Oh, man. Talk about things I could have controlled that because I could have just not given her the soda. But anyway, back to the railroad crossing. I just turned to Val and I said, you know, we're always trying to discern who made who sick or who did what or whose fault is it that our daughter got sick or whose fault is it that we got sick? Like if we all do the right thing, just no one's ever going to get sick. Now, okay, you can be irresponsible when you're sick and just go out and about and spread it around, but you really can't control when you're going to get sick. You're going to get sick and it's going to happen. And I said this night where Zoe pukes in the Mexican restaurant just reminded me that I need to be patient. And I think that's one of the reasons that God gives you a kid is so you can learn how to be patient. And then you start learning how he's patient. Yes, I guess there'll be some God stuff. So sue me. I'm a Christian. Anyway, but he's teaching me how to be patient by having a daughter. And there's just going to be some times when she throws up. And that's a time where you're just in total surrender because I just got to get through this. I can't just leave her in the restaurant. I've got to take care of this. And I just was having a visit with my wife about that night. Like, we can't control this and it's okay. We've got to take care of it. We've got to try and be prepared, but we can't control when people get sick. We can't control when our kid's going to throw up. We can try not to feed her the wrong stuff. We just can't control it. And there's something about that surrender that's really, really, really freeing. And especially I have terrible road rage, not to the extent that I've been in fights with people, but definitely to the extent where I've been glad that I'm not carrying a gun. And well, I mean, most of the time I'm not. And I just think, well, what is that going to accomplish? Say if I confront the person that's flipping me off and honking their horn, it's not going to accomplish anything. Now, could it be that some of these people driving around like that deserve a thump upside the head? Oh, it could totally be. And I may or may not pray for that. Lord, give that man a 2x4. But I can't control how he's going to act. I can't control this. The other day, we're driving through Bozeman, and it just seems to me like hipsters have a list of things that they want to ruin. So they tried to ruin PBR beer, and they almost got that done. They ruined a certain style of glasses. For a while, they ruined a certain style of jeans. They ruined flannel shirts for a while. They ruined certain kinds of music. And I thought, well, maybe I just need to switch to Wranglers because there's no way that hipsters would wear those. But now all these hipsters in Bozeman are wearing Wranglers that I can guarantee you other people wore out because these hipsters do not work for a living. They just go buy used jeans that are wore out so that they can look cool. And I couldn't believe. I said, why? I said to my wife, I says to her, why are they wearing Wranglers now? Why? What is the deal with that? Why do they have to wear Wranglers? Why do they have to ruin absolutely everything? Because it used to be all the cowboys, and a lot of the cowboys and ranchers still do wear Wranglers that they happen to wear out themselves because they know how to work and they work for a living and they get beat up themselves and get cut on barbed wire. And anyway, it just bothered me. I got so mad just by the jeans that these people were wearing. Instead of just going, well, they're dumb because they are, and whatever. They could be nice enough people, but yeah, they're dumb. They're being hipsters. That's just what they're going to do. They ruin everything. We shouldn't let them ruin everything. And just because they might have the same type of pants that I have or somebody else has that actually is legitimate, it's no sweat off my back. But no, I get mad because they're wearing something. I was more mad because they were riding their bikes side by side, blocking the road. And that's a whole additional, again, there's another one. I can't control how people ride their bikes in this town. I wish I could. There are times where I wish that I had a bow staff that I could teach them a lesson with. Just drive by and clunk them upside the head, but I can't do that. I can't control that. And it's not helpful for me. When I first moved here, when I first started living in the house where we live right now, I would get so angry at loud people going by my house. We, I think, are this back way between the Cat's Paw in Bozeman and the downtown bars. So instead of walking all the way down to Main Street and walking to the bars, they walk the back way on our road and go hit the bars. And they're always loud, always drunk, loud talking after regular people have gone to bed, like even after midnight. I get it. Like if you're young and you're a partier, living your best life, but it's so stinking annoying. They go by and they're yell talking, and I confronted some once, and I had words with them a couple different times. They're super antagonistic, and I knew that if it would have come to blows, I was not worried. But how does that help? So now I sit in my house and I turn up the music. Or I think, well, if I can be nice, I can go out there and say, could you please keep it down? But it never ends well because they start cussing at you and then you get mad and you start thinking about places where you could bury dead bodies, and that's not productive. I can't control them being loud and drunk. I can't control that. I can't control how they talk. Now, I will say after I chewed out a couple groups of them, actually the same group 2 different times, they don't walk by my house drunk anymore. So that might have been a win, but for the most part, I can't control that stuff. I can't control how people act. I can't control circumstances. I can get mad about the weather, but I can't control it. So I've got to decide how to work around it. I've got to decide how I respond. And that's the only thing that I can decide. And it's really the only thing that you can decide. You can decide how you're going to respond to things. You can decide not to fly off the handle and get mad. That's what I'm working on. I think the Lord's working on me. A couple years ago, we were having dinner and Val turned to me and said, hey, I think you're less angry than you used to be. And I said, I think you could be right. Thank you. Still angry, but less angry. That's kind of how that works. Those in the biz call it sanctification. You can look that word up. You don't get perfect, but the more you walk with God, the more you live in him, in Christ, the more that you start becoming like him. And it's a slow process. No one's perfect, but okay, a big part of that is, all right, Lord, grant me the serenity to accept the things I can't change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That prayer isn't in the Bible, but it is biblical. To let go of the things that I can't control. Just let it go. All right. Think of the song that all your little girls sang a few years ago that mine still does. Let it go. It just doesn't help. And so what are some tactics that you can use to allow yourself to let certain things go? What are some things that you can do to help yourself? And I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of that, but just the practice of giving things over. Giving things, in my case, I'm a believer in God. So I try to give things up to him. Lord, you have it. You have that problem. You deal with it. I can't control how other people react. I can't control the situations. I can't control the temperature in the room, even though I'm a dad and I like to dominate the thermostat. Just things to think about, okay? I can't control this. I can control how I'm going to respond. Let me respond in a way that's not going to cause more pain and suffering in the world. Hey, this has been the Rubecast. I really appreciate you listening, stopping by to hang out with me for a little bit. I'm really hoping Brother Jabin will be on the show next week. But in the meantime, I hope you have a happy Monday. Just remember, you can't control everything, but you can control how you respond to everything.